Good morning and welcome. It's 11 a.m. here in Singapore, 8:30 in India and 7 a.m. in Dubai. And you're with us live, the latest webinar brought to you by Logisim. Global supply chains explore new opportunities with increased visibility. My name is Bob Gill, General Manager, Southeast Asia at ARC Advisory Group. And I'm really happy to welcome my co-host today, Dr. Raymon Krishnan, President of the Logistics and Supply Chain Management Society and editor-at-large Logisim magazine. So now more than ever, technology is making all the difference in keeping supply chains afloat. And in this session, we're going to explore how visibility provides more opportunities and also save costs in supply chains, in global supply chains. So our two guests this morning who will help us to navigate this very current issue are Huseni Vohra, and Huseni is Vice President Asia Pacific Business Development at technology company Ocean Insights, and Mohammad Ismail, who is Corporate Logistics Manager and Dubai Site Leader at food company Goody. So perhaps to kick things off, Huseni and Ismail, perhaps you could tell us more about your respective roles at Ocean Insights and Goody, and also about what your companies do. So Huseni.
Very good morning to all our viewers, and thanks Bob and Raymon for having me here. I'm heading Ocean Insights Asia Pacific region, and as you said, Ocean Insights is a German technology company. We are into ocean freight visibility predominantly, and 6 years with Ocean Insights, and I think a lot of great experiences with big shippers, top global forwarders, and NVOs to understand their great pain points from the visibility perspective, and I hope to share some of those today, and I hope that makes some value to our audience. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And Ismail.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for having me here with you. It's a real pleasure to talk about a very interesting topic, and to also get the chance to share more about Goody and how we were able to partner with Ocean Insight and use their amazing platform to navigate through very rough waters, as what I would call for Corona and COVID-19. So just so you would understand how complicated the operations and supply chain of Goody. I'll give you a brief about myself first. So I'm Mohammad Ismail. I'm the Corporate Logistics Manager and Dubai Site Leader. And I take care of the global logistics. Goody is a Saudi company, started in 1969. We have what we call as a purpose to empower people, regardless of who the people are, whether they're employees, our consumers, or even our suppliers and partners. And that's our purpose in everything we do. We have 420 SKUs across 15 categories. 5 of those categories, we are the market leader in Saudi. We're the absolute #1. And in some of these categories, we even exceed 60% of market share. We have more than 75 pickup locations, and these pickup locations are in 24 different countries across 5 continents. We are present in 10 different countries across 3 different continents. Today's volumes, we sell around 14 million cartons a year. We transport those in around 15,000 TEUs, out of which 10,000 are by ocean. And you can have a look at our picture, just giving you a rough idea about the range of products that we have. Pastas, mayonnaise, peanut butter, and such. So, yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for that introduction. So this topic of visibility, so why is visibility necessary or even critical in the world of ocean freight? Maybe Huseni, you want to have a look at that first?
Sure, I think that's an interesting question to start with. I think two perspectives. Perspective number one if you compare ocean freight with other modes of transport, that's the mode more susceptible to problems, longer transit times, and a lot of odds against this industry. Ever increasing demand due to globalization, and you have those recent disruptions like trade wars or pandemic, and that easily makes you lose sight of your supply chain. And I think that's the last thing that you can afford to do. So definitely from that perspective, if you are shipping your goods through ocean, you definitely need visibility. And I think the other more important and equally important perspective is the strategic aspect. I see visibility providing, it is basically is at the heart of making a lot of critical supply chain decisions. So for an example, can I answer these questions? Hey, am I able to accurately help my customers with the correct arrival time, or am I able to judge my performance index with the industry benchmark? Or hey, am I able to optimize my warehouse space, working capital investment, or am I able to optimize my freight spend? If you want to answer these questions, I think you need a lot of important information, and visibility is a building block that provides you that right set of information that helps you make the right decision. So I think from operational perspective and both a strategic perspective, visibility is definitely there. I think you got to go for it. You have no option.
Right. Okay. No option. Ismail.
Well, to be quite honest, visibility again, building on what Huseni just said, it's not an option. It's a no-brainer. It's something that you require. Today, working without the correct visibility on your supply chain is just like crossing a highway where you cannot see what's in front of you. And there are different ways where visibility contributes to the supply chain, where I categorize them as the top line and bottom line. So having that visibility helps us to avoid potentially lost sales. So we are able to react in different ways into capitalizing on the sales that we know we can do, so we don't go out of stock by moving the products and making the right decisions at the right time. And which brings me again to the second point, which is the agility in the decisions itself. So you have when you have that visibility, you know what kind of decisions you have on the table, and you can very quickly get this data and make the right decision. One of the other things that visibility helped us specifically as Goody was it really helped us in the supply chain planning part. So we were able to reduce inventory because we started having much more accurate readings on the transit times and other supply chain parameters that I will be talking about in a minute. But generally, when you have that visibility, you know the real data without any noise or any error that might come from unrelated parts of the supply chain. Second thing is what really helped us is the better ordering consistency. So once something unusual happens in the supply chain, we can immediately place an order instead of waiting where it's too late and then place a very high order. So this creates a bullwhip effect across the supply chain. So having that visibility from the first day, and we'll be talking about incident features in Ocean Insight, but for now, I can tell you it helps us to avoid that from happening. And obviously, so all of the top line would be considered as an indirect cost, things that today we pay, but we don't realize that we're paying them. The more obvious part is the bottom line, what really comes into our P&L and what we can see on direct costs, such as damage and detention. We'll be talking more about it, but obviously when you have that visibility, you know that a certain container is in a port, so you need to take it out. And same thing for detention, when you need to return the containers back to shipping line and you don't have the visibility, or you might need a very complex tracking and costly, and can cost you a lot of headcount, which is again goes back to the top line.
Okay, thank you. So I think we've established that visibility is important, or even not an option for ocean freight. But for this next question, I'm going to come to you, Huseni. So how does technology help to deliver the level of visibility we're looking for when it comes to ocean freight?
Sure. I think before we get into answering that question, how does a technology can help, it's very important to understand the challenges, the problem that industry is up against today. And from my perspective, the number one challenge is the availability of those clean and reliable data. If the technology is able to provide you the most cleanest and the most reliable form of data, then I think the job is done. You are able to put a check mark on many wish list items. Yeah. So it's pretty important that you apply simple technology, make sure these data are available to the right people within the organization. And that's the key. And once, I mean, that's what exactly Ocean Insight did, ensured that data coming in from not just sources, from also third-party neutral data sources. It made sure data are unified and ensured that at least the users understand and know and receive the data that they need. And I think eventually, once you stabilize the data quality, once you have the data that you need, you can top it up with a lot of other technologies. So you can talk about, hey, let's have a software layer to generate exceptions, alert the right users and inform them about those exceptions and deviations. Or you put those prediction models that helps your users to see in a early part of the journey, hey, this deviations can happen or that can go wrong. Or you put your BI models into perspective and run those very deep data analytics, understand the trend of your business. So yeah, I mean, there are n number of technologies that you can apply, and technology enablement is definitely helping in this space. But it is also important to think about whether I want to go really high tech or the simple technologies can still do my job. Yeah. So for an example, I personally worked when I at Ocean Insight with one of the largest FMCG companies. And when they came up with their big list of problems in the visibility, they thought they must have a very high-tech technology to solve all those problems. And then we did a very quick POC for 4 weeks, and we did simple things. We stick to basic, provided all the data that were needed and the most cleanest form and timely, and they were amazed to see that they were able to, like, again, put a check mark on lots of the items that they have in their wish list. So idea is definitely use the technology, make sure that you know what you should know, and proactively design your business processes around that technology, and that's the key. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So extending on your answer there, we know that detention demurrage are key issues for shippers. So how does your technology at Ocean Insights help to manage D&D issues?
I think D&D is definitely those critical challenges that industry is up against. And if you see, I think we hear from our customers like easily 20%, 30%, or even 50% of their spend goes to these penalties. And sometimes they really feel helpless and they just accept those penalties, and they see no way out of it. So at Ocean Insights, I think the technology is again pretty simple, channeling the right information to the right people within the organization and providing those information on time to enable them to take those proactive measures to in the first place, avoid those issues. So I think you can see on screen, this is an exception alert dashboard. It is a customizable, so every individual user can customize his or her own exception. So for example, Ismail has his own customized dashboard that tells him, hey, if my container is at the Dubai port for 3 days, alert me, or 5 days, alert me again, or 10 days, alert me again, because he knows he has 14 free days. So that helps you proactively take some actions to ensure these detentions and demurge are being avoided in the first place. So I think that's perspective number one, the idea number one. The other slides, I think we can go to next slide and see some live dashboards. This gives you an idea about, it's a bird's eye view of all your containers across the world in different destination terminals. Or the next slide where you can see containers are cleared from the port and the empty equipments are not returned. So all these tools are at your hand that makes you very proactive, and you know what actions you need to take because it highlights where you need to take an action. That's very proactive approach. And then the another approach is using the historical trends to understand, hey, how many free days I would need to avoid the demurge and detention and optimize those. Or maybe using these historical data to validate these claims, or even sometimes you can go and often challenge these claims. Ismail is working at the ground zero, and I think maybe he can also talk about this. So our perspective or our idea is two-pronged approach. Try to avoid the demurge and detention even before it occurs. And if for some reason it occurs, you should have a data and information that you can help to either validate, challenge, or learn from it in the future. So next time when you go for tendering, you know what can help to reduce those demurge and detention charges. That's my take on this. Yeah.
Thanks, Huseni. So, Ismail, following from what Huseni just said, you're at ground zero. Do you have an example to share with us how you've used that technology to help your business and your operations to avoid detention and demurrage and also provide that sort of visibility?
Absolutely. I've got tons of examples, but for the sake of time, I'll be just sharing a few.
All right.
So back to what we were just talking about, top line and bottom line, how it affects the P&L on the top line. We can see the two extremes here. We can, on the bottom line, save some costs. How do we save these costs? So it's with a click of a button, you can easily identify any overstaying containers in port. So today, a company like Goody, we have at any time more than 100 containers at any one of our ports. And it becomes very difficult to build it, you need to make it human error proof. So with a click of a button, you can simply see any container that stays, as Huseni just shared, 5 days. So we put different thresholds. So what we call as a moderate alert, a high alert, and a critical alert. So once a container reaches that moderate alert, it's in my radar automatically, and I start to question, why is this container still in port after 5 days? So I know on average it should be out by 5 days. Then we keep on monitoring it, but again, after 2 other days, I realize that the problem is not solved. So the best thing is that it drives actionable data, and this is the most important thing from visibility. It's not just about sharing data or giving numbers, it's about actionable data. And it couldn't be more actionable than it is today. We also realized something that was happening during COVID, and this is one thing that we'll be talking about later, but generally, when you're in a supply chain, you're working with a lot of entities, a transporter, a freight forwarder, a carrier, a supplier, and so on. So one of the things that we realized was that a lot of our containers were being offloaded on the warehouse. So it went out of my radar of being cleared out of port, but then the transporter was not returning the containers on time for whatever reason at their part. But we were able to identify this by having an alert on the detention separate than the demurrage itself. This is one other example, and we were able to eliminate the waiting charges because what are usually paid to the transporter, because we have a very clear arrival plan. This plan is shared with the warehouse, and they are very well aware and can prepare their manpower. So this is exactly visibility that we are giving to our finance department, so they can prepare customs duty payments. We give it to our warehouse so they can plan their manpower. So it's something that flows down the supply chain. One other example is the reduction of headcount. So this monitoring of shipments and shipment updates requires people and entry and a lot of effort, actually. So when it's automated, and even Ocean Insight has the feature for an API integration into your ERP, so these shipment updates can flow straight into your purchase order, maybe, or something like that. One of the last examples on saving cost is the on-time clearance for containers that were arriving before ETA. And surprisingly, this is something that really happens a lot in this time. When there is COVID-19, a lot of blank sailing, one of two things happens. It's either you were lucky enough to be on the vessel and you would be arriving early because the vessel has skipped some ports, or you were not lucky and you missed the vessel because there was a blank sailing. So in the first scenario, you end up coming early 1 week. So a lot of ports, like the ones in Saudi, they only give you 5 days, and the fine is very hefty after these 5 days. So once we realized that the container came, and in some situations it came 14 days early. So 14 days, we would have had, from the day we thought that the container is arriving, we would have had already 7 days of fines, and it helped us to start the clearance on time.
Thanks a lot, Ismail. Great answer. I mean, very detailed, very in-depth. I got a text that came in. I think it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but you know, with all these capabilities that Ocean Insights is giving to Goody, right? What did Goody do before it had Ocean Insights?
Well, that wouldn't be nice to share. To be honest, it really depended on, again, the customs broker inside the port, manual reports, waiting for 1 day and sending reminders, please send me the report, please send me the report. And we had a lot of times where even the customs broker did not know that the shipment is in port because we didn't give them the document because it's coming after 2 weeks. Right. So this is what happened, and it was an Excel-based tracking. There was a lot of room for error in terms of deleting a row, overwriting a wrong cell, and such things. And especially when you depend on one source of information, which is the carrier update, sometimes it's a bit biased. But when you have the sources of information is from AIS data, from satellite and carrier and all, so it really gives you very solid data.
Okay, so it was a very manual process. You relied on your customs broker, your freight forwarder, and you use Excel spreadsheets. And you're absolutely correct. It's quite surprising that shipping lines even today cannot give you accurate vessel arrival times or departure times. And so there's a lot of inaccuracy, right? Here's another question. When you talked about, you mentioned, I think, headcount reduction. So, you know, this is a common fear or worry, and people talk about it quite often. You know, when you introduce technology or digitization in your supply chain, you're going to have people made redundant or put out of a job. So what happened in the case of Goody? What did you do with that headcount? Did you redeploy them? Did they go into higher value-added jobs, or did they simply get fired? What happened?
That's an excellent question, to be honest, because I personally, when I started, I said the Goody purpose is to empower people to amaze. So people are employees. So the purpose is never to let go of employees, but it's really, it eliminates unnecessary and wasted effort of employees. So today, our employees are spending, that we do have the same, we did not let go of anyone. We just let them spend on more value adding. So today we can expedite shipments, for example. We realized that there are situations we were able to get a faster connection. I know exactly where's the container, and I know that there is a sailing from that port earlier than the one that's scheduled with the carrier, so I get in contact with them. So these things were not happening. We were very reactive. Today we're very proactive. It's a competitive edge to the company. So it's not about letting go of people. It's never the purpose. It's just about investing your time in the right places.
Right. Thanks for that, Ismail. I think it's a very important message to send. Yeah. You know, it's actually allowing or empowering our employees to do better at their jobs. And very often, especially in supply chain, it's not that you've got 200 people lining up at the door to do a job. Very often, it's very hard to find good people. So if you're good, the technology just makes you better and empowers you to do your role. We've just got a question that's come in. And I guess it's a question that a lot of our listeners or participants will ask. And this is one for Huseni.
Sure.
And I don't know if you saw the question as well. How does Ocean Insight charge for this visibility? Is it a SaaS model? Is it pay me $1? And, you know, tell us a bit about the charging model.
Sure. I think it is definitely a SaaS model, and it's pretty transparent. I think unlike the previous and historical solutions, which used to charge based on the number of notifications that gives you, it's not like that. We define a per container cost that will be billed if we start tracking that container for you. It's as simple as that. So you know, in next year you're gonna track like 10,000 containers. So you straight away know what is your cost. There is no X factor in this. Yeah, I mean you can definitely always budget for a fixed cost, because you know how many containers you move and you know you are only going to pay per container. And then the container can go on for the journey of 15 days or 90 days. It doesn't affect your cost. Neither the number of alerts that we send for that container would change cost anyways. So basically it's a fixed per container cost, and that's pretty transparent for our customers. Yeah.
Okay, so basically I tell you at the start of the year, this is what my projected volume is going to be. I don't know, 5,000 TEUs, 10,000 TEUs, and then we agree on a price for that with Ocean Insights. Yes?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then of course there's a slight margin of error because no one actually hits the nail on the head. You know,
Absolutely.
It might be plus minus 5-10%, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. I think yeah, we do understand the practicalities. We understand the challenges that industry throws at you every year. And like for example, this year, it's the most abnormal year, right? And we understand a lot of things. And generally, when we work with our customers on commercials, we keep in those variable factors and ensure those flexibilities to our customers. Yeah.
So let me put you on the spot a bit. So does that mean that if my volumes have dropped this year, say I committed to you 10,000 TEUs, you know, this is what my volume is going to be, but because of the circumstances that I'm in, I'm only shipping 5,000 TEUs. Are you saying that Ocean Insights is going to charge the customer based on 5,000?
So what we do two things. Point number one is we look at the total volume, the annual volume that customer would run every year. Like they can go back to 3 years and say, hey, this is the minimum that we run. And then when we start talking about our minimum, the minimum commitment is always lesser than the commitment that customer feels is my minimum. Yeah, so that's where we allow our customers to play. And not just that, understand that the preferential pricing will be based on the actual potential, but the minimum will be lesser than that to allow that flexibility. And then the another flexibility is like these volumes are not fixed. These minimum volumes are not fixed for a month or for a quarter. You have 12 months, and then your volume can spread across. So maybe 3 months because of pandemic, your volumes go down, but the moment the world is back to normal, you plunge into huge volume, and eventually the whole year is spreaded well. Yeah.
No, and your answer makes perfect sense. You know, a lot of people are talking about carriers overcharging now because most carriers, especially on the Trans-Pacific eastbound route, rates are going through the roof, right?
Right.
But you can't blame carriers because it's so hard to gauge demand. They are responding to market demand, and you need to be fair when you actually approach the market. You know, we can't always keep reducing prices. We need to charge a fair price for our business to continue being viable. Thanks a lot, Huseni. Bob, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Raymon, and thank you for the questions. So I know that for shippers, there's a lot of software solutions out there in the supply chain space, planning, scheduling, WMS, TMS, and we also have limited IT budgets. So Ismail, why did you make the provision of ocean freight visibility a priority for you at Goody?
Yeah, again, it's an excellent question. We at that time we were having an implementation of SAP ERP. And we had our own, before that, we had our in-house built ERP, which was perfectly tailored for us. During that transition, a lot of companies go through that transition and they lose that visibility because everyone is used on a certain process. So we ended up expediting the implementation of the project. Which from the day we started talking with Ocean Insight till the day it was fully live and all our shipments were on tracking, it took us exactly 3 months, inclusive of anything internal contract reviews and all of that. For us, it was a very important investment because, as you can see here, from indirect costs, this is only an estimation of what I was able to actually quantify. Trust me, there were things that I wasn't able to quantify, so it's even more than the numbers that you can see. So within today 7 months of implementation, the value creation interventions, the ones that we're talking about, how we were able to capitalize on sales and similar, it's around 7,000% ROI. And that's in 7 months. And, again, from direct costs, from damage 595, this is by identifying the containers that were coming earlier. There were a few incidents that we realized the container was in port and the clearance did not start because of a miscommunication across the supply chain, which is bound to happen. So I wasn't able to quantify that because I don't know, it might have stayed for 3 months in the port. I cannot, that's why I couldn't quantify. Then there's the detention from, again, realizing the containers that were not returned back to the depot after offloading. So that's 1,000. So in 7 months, 10,000% ROI is quite the right investment. Really.
Okay. So Huseni, I'm sure this is a question you get from your clients, your prospective clients, and do you help them with these kinds of ROI calculations?
Absolutely. I think this is a very interesting question, and I think Bob and Raymon, you can have another webinar running for 60 minutes and we can talk about this. Yeah, it's an interesting topic. There are two major factors that all our customers or anybody would consider before they make the decision to invest. The factor number one, which is more important, is what is a burning need for your organization? And if you are the organization who is for whom the ocean freight is core and integral part of your business, then definitely having a visibility is a critical need. Having a visibility is burning need for you. So you need to decide what is your burning need now. And like Ismail said, the second important factor is return over your invest. So everyone has a limited budgets, right? You have 10 applications, you want to implement all of them, and eventually you create a business case in front of your management and say, hey, I want to buy 10, and you can only buy 5, right? So that's where I think comes the ROI calculation, and we do help. Based on our experience with our customers, we do help our customers to put some numbers behind it. So I know our customers say that their ROI is like anywhere from 2 times or 5 times or 7 times or even 10 times of their investment in the first year with Ocean Insights. So I think if you are creating a business case, putting across the management panel, the steering committee, then I think ROI is the factor that impresses everybody. So, and that is a very important factor to talk about when you are making a buying decision.
If I may add also, it's not just a matter of ROI in terms of an absolute value. It is really a fraction of what a container would cost. So for any company that's moving as an absolute, it's not really that significant.
Right, okay. Because in your case, your intangible benefits, if you like, 7,000% you calculated, which was actually more than the tangible benefits at Goody.
That's always the case in supply chain. The indirect was higher.
Okay. Ismail, you touched on this issue earlier of COVID-19. And that's obviously the big story this year, affecting all businesses all over the world. But specifically, how has COVID-19 affected Goody this year? In a good way or in a bad way? Or
for everything, there's an upside, I would say. So yes, we did have higher sales and obviously higher revenue because the change and shift in consumer demand. A lot of people, especially for us, our products are dry food stuff generally. So it's things that you use in your kitchen, in your home. So people being on a lockdown was really shifted from restaurant demand and all of this kind of consumption into the household and domestic consumption. So while that's good news, if this comes bad news. So for the supply chain, that was a very volatile demand. So I know it's great to have higher sales, but when you're not able to put the product on shelf, that's not good news anymore. You start losing market share, so it's something that's very important. So we had very volatile demand. We had higher shipping costs because a lot of blank sailing happening. So the capacity of the shipping lines were reduced. We had equipment shortage in a lot of, because what happened throughout the year, there was an imbalance of trade of containers. Some containers that were stuck in China, and obviously there were very limited number of containers in US and North Europe, which caused us to have a higher shipping cost. We had obviously a lot of disruptions in terms of on-time and in transit kind of times. One of the things was obviously the clearance itself at port. You couldn't have them as the same presence in port, and the reduction of employees, changes in a lot of documentation. So it did have an impact across the entire supply chain in every way possible.
Right.
There was a good balance to it, which was the higher sales.
Okay, good. For you, Huseni, did you find that the crisis had more people knocking on your door, looking for this visibility?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think definitely some of the unprecedented events, and the world is affected. Businesses, equally the personal life. So it's definitely difficult times. You work in an industry, you make friends, you know people, you know professional, you talk about it. You get to hear those difficult decisions like big projects being shelved, or budget cuts, or agreements being put on hold and stuff like those. But I think for us at Ocean Insights, good thing that happened is that we did not receive any cancellation from our existing customers. That was a kind of a revelation, and that was a kind of an interesting fact that, the general notion amongst the industry is that visibility is the solution, which is good to have. I think this was the scenario before the pandemic, but now I think that has made a shift, and for us it's definitely a good shift. It's a positive shift where people now feel that the visibility is very critical part of it. So I think even during the COVID, we understood from some of our existing customers, mainly forwarders. So they anticipated once the world will come over this situation, there will be a huge strain on the industry, huge demand for the industry, and that is the time. If you do not have a visibility, then you'll end up in a lot of issues. So a lot of them during this difficult time were looking in the future, trying to anticipate what will happen and trying to see how the technology can help them in even more difficult times coming in the future. And I think Ocean Insights also ran some surveys, and we got to hear that I think 40 to 60% of the participants felt that their supply chain is susceptible. They need technology. They need new solutions to make sure that they can withstand these kind of events. And they all thought that they need to create like more resilience in their business processes. And I think technology enablement can only help to create those resilience in your business processes. So yeah, overall, of course, bad for everyone. But I think we learned that eventually the application, which was good to have, is now like in the kitty of those must-to-have applications. Yeah.
All right. So Huseni, you touched about this. You touched on this briefly. So we've heard from Goody. So that's the shipper's perspective, yeah, or the BCO's perspective. Yeah. How is Ocean Insights helping other stakeholders in the supply chain ecosystem? You mentioned forwarders a few seconds ago. How is Ocean Insights helping freight forwarders? Yeah,
I think forwarders is our second biggest vertical from where we get our customers. Predominantly, forwarders have two perspectives. The perspective number one is the customer service. They want to delight their customers with the technology and the services that the others are not offering. After all, it is a service industry. Yeah, you are in competition, and you need to have an edge over the others. So I think that drives a lot of forwarders to reach out to us, have our data into their customer-facing portals. And I think in recent trends, we have a lot of, e-market solutions for freight, or you have a lot of e-freight forwarders coming in. I think for them, they have everything digitalized, right? And they need the data. And that's where Ocean Insight plays a very important role, because I think our data are more reliable, and they are basically creating an ecosystem where they plug and play solutions. They don't want to reinvent wheels. They just want solutions which are proven, tested, working, and then they plug it and create an ecosystem for the end users. So for them, it was important. And also we see some interesting trends where TMS and ERP systems, they started thinking to have an integration at product level. I mean, some of the TMS systems we thought these are the integrations that needs to define at the customer levels. But then I think now there is a shift, and they think it is a win-win situation if such integration happens at the product level. So once it is integrated in, let's say, for example, SAP or Oracle TMS at product level, then everyone has this information on single screen. They have an easy access to that. So that's an interesting story for us. And we've been also approached by, I think, some of the banking and financial institutions. Everybody is into digitalization, right? They want to digitalize their processes. So one of the banking industry, they came because they are digitalizing their shipments that go through bank letter of credits. And there, I think they need a visibility. What is the actual sailing date? When did the container actually arrive at the port? These are some of the important milestones that generally sometimes you miss from the core sources of data. And that's where Ocean Insight would go to third-party neutral sources, receive those information and feed in and say, hey, your sailing started on this date, or you arrived at destination on that date. And this would trigger some of the financial transactions, like when to generate invoice, when to send documents, or when to go for the clearance at the port, how much duty payment I would need next week. Yeah, all these questions are being answered if you have those data. And also we have been approached by, I think, government bodies for having some visibilities. And the last point I want to make is for the industry at large, Ocean Insight frequently generates some market intelligence reports. You heard Ismail talking about blank sailings a lot. People working at level 0, I think generally in normal times, they know by heart X vessel is coming on Wednesday, Y vessel is departing on Thursday. They know this by heart, but these are by no standard, these are normal times, right? And anticipating whether that vessel will come or not was very difficult. So what we did is we at Ocean Insight, we compared the services, the vessel services that carriers offer every week. And those comparisons would tell us that that carrier, that vessel is not offering the service next week. So that is a blank sailing. So our customers like Ismail would know at Dubai port that X vessel generally comes on Wednesday, but it's not going to come next Wednesday. So those kind of reports would also help.
All right, cool. So thanks for that. We're out of time, but I'm going to ask you guys a couple of other questions. Yeah. For Ismail, so I think I saw in one of your slides that it took about 3 months to implement Ocean Insights in your organization. How long did it take you to decide? That means from the time your organization decided that they need some sort of container tracking or visibility tool, how long did it take you from the time you realized that to the time you actually decided on a vendor?
Well, let me share a little bit of a personal story. So I was May 2019. I was only taking care of international markets. I wasn't really taking care of Saudi, and I got the assignment in May 2019 to look into. So the first question that I was talking actually with top management, they were saying we want the better visibility. We want better visibility. That was really the main objective.
Right.
So from May, I started looking around in the market. I saw a couple of solutions, and as I've already mentioned, I got in contact in November, mid-November, with Huseni. I've already seen a lot of solutions, and I knew right away that this is the solution for us. And as I said, it took less than a week for them to set up the account. Maybe internally the contract review was the biggest part. If I would have eliminated the whole project, it would take less than a month to implement.
All right, fantastic. Thanks for that. So of course, price is important. We won't discount that. But very quickly, what were the top 3 reasons why you chose Ocean Insight, or why did Ocean Insights make sense?
That's an amazing question, honestly.
But keep it short. Three reasons. Answer in less than a minute.
So first of all, I knew right away that the ROI would be great. Without any, right now we can see that. This is one thing. Second thing was the features on Ocean Insight, the automated reports when it comes to lead time report. It's an automated report, so I knew how much time it would save us. And finally, how it's the only platform that I saw that is integrated across different sources. So getting that made me very confident with the data that it gives out.
All right, thank you very much. One last question for you before so you can consider this your wrap-up question. What's next for Ismail and Goody? So you've got Ocean Insights, you've got this great visibility, you've got huge reduction in demurrage and detention costs. What's your next project that you're going to be working on to improve your supply chain?
It's quite clear for us that we are, so as I already mentioned, there's the API integration. So the API documentation is very solid in Ocean Insight. It's just that we're trying to work out the details on how and which fields to integrate into our ERP. So this is the project that we're working on. And on a parallel part, we are also working into having the visibility on an SKU level, which is very important. Okay,
fantastic. Thank you. And for yourself, Huseni, to wrap up, you've got a resounding endorsement from Goody here, 7,000% ROI. Yeah. So Fantastic. So why aren't people not lining up around the block to sign up for Ocean Insights? What's your takeaway message for them?
Yeah, I think people who talk to us, they definitely know that the solution works. They know the ROI is there. There are some external factors which takes time to make decisions. So I think in my tenure at Ocean Insights, I have seen companies talking to us for 5 years, and they sign up in the 5th year. And I think some of the external factors recently, like the pandemic, have expedited some of these decisions. And like I said, some of our prospects were really smart, looking into the future and see what's going to happen next and what will be the next biggest challenge for them, and then creating their roadmap accordingly, what technology they would need and stuff like this. So I would say, hey, if you are the company shipping something with Ocean, then visibility is no-brainer. And then the important aspect is the reliability and the quality of the data that you really get from the solution provider. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Hussein.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I realize we are now out of time, so I really want to thank our two guests this morning from India and Dubai, who helped us explore and illuminate this topic of ocean freight visibility. So that's Huseni Vohra from Ocean Insights and Mohammad Ismail from Goody. Of course, I also want to thank my co-host today, Raymon Krishnan, and you out there, our audience and participants. So there will be a recording made available of this webinar. So look out for that, and also look out for future Logisim webinars. So thank you very much again, and goodbye.
Thanks a lot, Bob.
Goodbye.